Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining the JDCA for our penultimate phone bank for this critical New York third special election. The election day is, of course, tomorrow. Thanks to everyone's efforts, we're going to flip the New York third and replace George Santos with Tom Suozzi, a extremely qualified Democrat who will defend reproductive freedom and democracy and Israel and flip this critical seat from red to blue. That's what we're going for. We've already contacted well over 20,000 voters through text and phone banks. I think we're reaching every Jewish voter in the district, Republican and Democrat. Now's the time to go all out. This district is 11% Jewish. That means your voices as Jewish Democrats matter. It could literally affect the outcome of the race. We're grateful that you volunteered your time to help turn out the vote effort and make a difference. I'm very happy that joining us today on the phone bank is Representative Haley Stevens, a longtime friend of the JDCA's, and of course, a very good friend of mine and my wife's. She's first elected to Congress in 2018 and flipped Michigan 11th. That's the district that I live in. In her 3 congressional terms, Representative Stevens has been a leading voice advocating for working families, union households, and created the first ever Women in STEM Congressional Caucus. Thanks, Representative Stevens. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. I'll leave it over to you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jordan, and to all of you at the JDCA. As Jordan was talking, it made me think very quickly about the importance of what all of you have been doing for this very brief but very important special election. Um, JDCA has stood up time and time again, and particularly from this organization's origin in ways that have been instrumental to democratic efforts in Congress. And I'm specifically thinking about the elections that I've had. Haley Soifer, the founder of JDCA, knows us very well. That in 2018, and Jordan, you and Mihal were right alongside me when we were working to flip the 11th district. I was running against a Jewish Republican and someone who was very aligned with Trump, who had frustrated her own community, and to be endorsed by JDCA in that environment to become the first Democrat since before the moon landing to hold Michigan's 11th district was absolutely instrumental. So the timing then was essential, and the timing now is essential. And as we tick through what you all have already accomplished and what you are going to accomplish when we reelect Tom Suozzi, it is going to continue to contribute to that story of progress and that story of change, and why organizations like JDCA and this person to person contact that all of you are going to be making today on the phones, it's going to win the day for us. I've had a member of my own staff. I'm here in Michigan today, getting back to DC tomorrow for votes. I've had a member of my own staff on the ground in the district. I served with Tom Suozzi in the Congress. I loved working with him. I really didn't like working with his successor, and I'm going to work with Tom Suozzi again. There's just no story that will accept otherwise. Choice, gun safety, common sense governance, not another rubber stamp for Trump. That's what we need, and that's what this special election is all about. There are certainly some factors that, in a special election, you face a smaller electorate, people not familiar with voting at a certain time. And so that's why these contacts, particularly on behalf of the Jewish Democratic Coalition of America, is just going to make all the difference. So I know you all know what to do. I'm fired up for Tom Suozzi. I'm talking to all my colleagues about it. And let me just add the fact that I get to kick off this Zoom call with the one and only Steve Israel, who just still plays such an outsized role in the work that we do as Democrats, is just a real treat. Was never on my bingo card, but really excited to do this for Tom Suozzi, really excited to do this alongside of all of you, fired up for JDCA to make a difference, and very much looking forward to hearing what Steve Israel has to say. So with that, I'll kick it back over to our host, but let's make the difference and know that every single phone call you all are making this evening is going to make the difference for us.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Representative Stevens, for those wonderful and inspiring words. You know, I think what you were talking about is really important. We have to get out there for every election that we have a possibility of winning and where we can do all the work that we can possibly do. So you said you were fired up for Suozzi. I also am fired up for Suozzi, but I'm also fired up for Steve Israel, who is a very close personal friend and who I am delighted is here tonight because he represented this district, the Congressional District, from 2013 to 2017. And before that, the neighboring New York 2nd Congressional District from 2001 to 2013. He, during his esteemed career, I'm sorry to be reading this, but it's great. He served as House Democrats' chief political strategist and chairman of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, which is how I met him, and I, will be forever grateful for that because he got me a ticket to Obama's inauguration, and that was worth everything. But Steve has been he left in 2017. Many of us were disappointed that Steve was leaving Congress, but we also understood it because, as he says, he left unindicted and undefeated to pursue a new career as a writer, a bookstore owner, and head of the Cornell University Institute of Politics and Global Affairs, which I am also a part of, and which is really an amazing way of giving students at Cornell and others the opportunity to meet and understand politics from a bipartisan point of view, which doesn't stop Steve from being the amazing Democrat that he is. He knows the 3rd Congressional District well, and he knows what it takes to win. So I think that we are really honored to have him tonight, to have him share his insights with us. Steve, thank you so much for everything that you do for JDCA, and thank you for being here tonight.
Marcia, thank you for everything that you have done. You have been a stalwart in the fight for democracy, in fighting for U.S.-Israeli relations, and fighting for so many communities, for human rights and civil rights. And we all owe you a debt of obligation for what you have done. And Haley Stevens, I am just like the biggest Haley Stevens fan. One of the people often ask me whether I have any regrets about leaving Congress. It's that I left without having an opportunity to serve. But I have supported her, and I urge your support of her. Her race is also critical to us. Her state is going to be critical in a national election. It is that, very rarely would I say something is a must win. Haley Stevens' reelection and winning the state of Michigan in the presidential are both must win. So Haley, thank you. And thanks for saying those kind words about me, which I'm convinced my mother wrote and submitted to you for reading. So look, I'm going to be really brief because we need to make phone calls. I am sitting here on Long Island. I am sitting here in the heart of the district. And we are consumed with the news that we're going to get between 4 to 8 inches of snow tomorrow. And so I suppose if you're a partisan who believes in divine intervention, tomorrow we're going to find out whether God is a Democrat or a Republican, based on who wins the special election, the amount of snow that we get. Which means that your calls are more important than ever before, just critical, going into the convergence of a snowstorm, which may produce a very low turnout election, and one of the most important special elections that I can remember. So let me just make a couple closing points about why this is so important. First of all, look, I did represent major swaths of this district for a long time. I know one thing about voters and constituents in this district. They are demanding and they are defiantly moderate, probably not unlike Haley's constituents. So they are very demanding. And the Republicans have run a very cynical race. Mazi Pilip has not been asked to earn the voters' trust or votes. They've hid her. They've put her under wraps. They have made her inaccessible. She might as well be in the witness protection program, for goodness sake. They are doing that out of a cynical strategy because they themselves know that she's unvetted, unqualified, unprepared to be elected to the United States Congress. And so they have hid her from voters, as opposed to Tom Suozzi, who served, whose record is clear, who is transparent. Secondly, the results of this election will decide, and Haley knows this better, Congresswoman Stevens knows this better than anybody else. You know, they're down to a razor-thin majority in the House of Representatives. They tried to impeach the Jewish Secretary of Homeland Security last week and failed because the vote was so close. They didn't have their majority. They're going to do it again. What an amazing message to send if Tom Suozzi wins this, that razor-thin majority is now even thinner, between 1 and 2 votes. What an extraordinary narrative that would give us, that this is a repudiation of the MAGA Republicans' crazy, irrational agenda on the floor of the House. And so bottom line, folks, in what is, I predict, will be one of the closest elections and special elections in a long, long time, within the margin of error, with snow bearing down on us. Every single vote could be the vote that makes the difference, and every single call could be the call that gets out that vote that is the one that makes the difference. So every call you make tonight is worth 10 or 15. And I want to thank you all for being part of that. I want to again thank Congresswoman Stevens for being a true warrior for democracy. Haley Sofer, thank you for what you do. JDCA, Marcia, let's keep going until you just can't stand making that next call, and make it anyway. And we'll have a win here in NY-3 tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Congressman Israel. Thank you, Congresswoman Stevens, for joining us and getting us fired up and ready to go make these calls. It's great to hear from you, Steve, in the district, and now we will be calling into the district. And yes, the snow might be coming, but from what we're hearing, people are going to be turning out to vote, and they have been already with early voting. So we're really thrilled. This is our second to last phone bank, and I know that a lot of you have been joining week after week, phone bank after phone bank, and we are so grateful because you are making a difference in ensuring that the Democrats are 1 seat closer to taking the House majority in November. And it is a dwindling majority that the Republicans currently have, and we're going to make sure that it's 1 less after tomorrow.